Hi.
Hi there.
Okay, so my question is, I have so many, but I'm gonna really just try and narrow this down to one. So, um, I've been going through Kundalini awakening for the last couple years. Um, Initially, I had a really rough time. Um, but anyhow, so I'm at a point right now where the last month has been quite rough since November. And the Scorpio energies, I feel like, are just like bringing everything up. Um, I've had like things that I didn't even know existed come up. Like the last couple years, I've been kind of, I would say, primarily stable. Um, with my mood and energy, and I've been able to get myself back on track, like no matter what. But this November really kind of kicked my butt, and I'm still dealing with it. And there's a lot of stuff coming up with like loneliness and like fear of death. And that's not even mine, like it's ancestral. And then there is like despair and sorrow and things. Like I'm able to identify these things like in the body, in the energy field. And I'm just wondering, I think maybe say I like I've identified something in to do with my shadow, right? And I mean, I give it love and acceptance, but I feel like I'm not fully embracing it. Like, is there something that you would recommend either as a practice or as a state of like being or viewing or perspective to do with the actual shadow?
Yeah. Okay. That's a great question. Yeah, great question. You've expressed it really clearly. So some things that are coming to me are, so you said you're doing your best, but you feel like you haven't embraced it fully, or there's a deeper level that you can go. Um, don't be hard on yourself. A lot of this stuff is hard to embrace. It's very hard. We receive no training throughout our life about how to embrace difficult emotions. So the fact that you're even entertaining it is admirable, and that's an accomplishment in and of itself. Um, but we can go deeper. So some of the practices that you can entertain, for me, it was putting my hands on my heart and saying, I love you to every part of me, every thought, every emotion, every sensation. I love you. That felt to me not solely as acceptance, but that felt like an embrace. Acceptance of a difficult emotion or the shadow feels too neutral. I wanted to go one step further and say, come here, I'm going to hold you. Not only am I not going to resist you, not only am I going to be neutral with you, I'm going to hold you, bring you in, and welcome you into my being here. And by doing so, that the parts of me said, thank you so much. Now I can be healed and released. And so that's what my practice was. You may like the work of internal family systems, IFS. It's a therapeutic approach, um, very spiritual in nature. And I know that the folks over at When Lightning Strikes have been in touch with the creator of internal family systems, IFS, Richard Schwartz. I'm probably butcher it, but in short, there's many parts of us. There's many parts of us that were developed throughout our life in order to survive. So we have the jealous parts. We've got the sad parts, the afraid parts. So in IFS, they say there's no bad parts. This is like a quote or whatever. There's no bad parts. So look at any part of your shadow that's coming up and don't see it as bad. It serves a purpose. It serves a function, even though it's difficult, even though it's makes you uncomfortable. It serves some purpose. So what you can do is actually see what did this despair serve for me? What did this fear serve? How did it contribute to me in my life. And like that, it make it easier for you to embrace it and integrate those parts back into the whole. So that's my brief IFS thing. Admittedly, I don't know much about it, but it's a direction that you may be interested in exploring, just doing some reading, looking on YouTube, and maybe even finding a therapist that works with that type of stuff. But that's one way we can integrate the shadow. Ultimately, I don't even like referring to it as the shadow, though I do sometimes. The reason I say that is because to me, there's only light here. There's only light. There's nothing else. There's only a spectrum of light. And on that spectrum, there's different frequencies and vibrations. And some frequencies are slower and they're more darker and kind of ugly and uncomfortable, like sadness or fear. But even that is still part of the light because there is only light here. So my practice, when I would say, I love you, to sadness, to fear, that was me actively trying to acknowledge that, yes, you two are part of the light. And in doing so, I stopped seeing it as two paradigms: light, joy, peace, and then darkness or shadow, despair, fear, etc. There's only light here. There's only God here. So my challenge to myself was, can I be mature enough to see that even these dark, uncomfortable things are in some way, some twisted way, part of the light? Or am I going to be quote unquote immature and say, no, not you, not you. I don't want to look at you. Get out of here. You're the shadow. A mature view was, okay, how can I find that this also is part of the light? So these are some ideas for you, but overall, it seems like you're going in the right direction, and this happens at its own pace. It's very difficult to embrace the darkness and the difficulty, but if our intention is there in the right pace, at the right time, it will happen. It will happen.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.